Hi, welcome to episode 247 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I have an Etsy shop called the Corner of Knit and Tea where you can find my handspun yarns, and we have a Ravelry group called the Corner of Knit and Tea. And I missed one, which is funny because I've only done this intro 247 times. I have a blog over at the Corner of Knit and Tea where this episode and every episode show notes will be. So there you have it. Welcome to episode 247. We are rolling up on episode 250 really fast, and I am starting to think about the giveaway that I want to do for episode 250. So do tune in for a few more episodes. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, September 23rd, and that means today is the autumnal equinox, which means the days are going to start getting shorter, and we are moving from summer into fall, and, well, I guess the days already started getting shorter after the peak of summer, so we're pretty soon going to set the clocks back, and I am eagerly anticipating fall. It is not fall at all here today. It is in the 80s and humid. We had rain all weekend, but it was not cool rain. It was hot and humid rain. And it was funny because we went out on Saturday and got caught in a thunderstorm. And so I came home all wet and chilled, and I put on my sweats. And I said, you know what? I'm going to will it to be fall because I am chilly and I want it to be chilly and rainy out. And 2 hours later, I had to strip and find something else to wear because I was too hot in my sweats. So it is not fall yet, despite the fact that I would like it to be. But officially the world says we are turning towards fall today, so I will take it. I have lots of finishes to show you this week. There has been lots of fall knitting so far, and I hope you've had a wonderful week. So what are you up to these days? I hope you're crafting, and I just want to say thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day to spend time with me. If this is your first episode, welcome, and if you are a regular viewer, welcome back. Thanks for hanging with me. So because it's fall, I pulled out my Halloween mug, and no, it's not Halloween yet, although I did order a costume this weekend, because one of the runs that Wes is doing is costume themed, and so we ordered costumes for it. But I am using my trick-or-treat Hello Kitty mug, which I love pulling out in the fall, and it's got little spiders and all kinds of things, and I got this several years ago. This is filled with a green tea from a friend. I really can't tell you anything about it because she gets, I believe she places orders at this tea house, and then she gets all these samples that come in little foil wrapped packages with no description on them, nothing at all. So they are they are Chinese green tea, and they are delicious, and I love them, but I can't tell you anything about them. I should say, I believe she gets them from Verdant Teas. I haven't placed an order yet. She is half Chinese and her mom is Chinese, and so that's who started, I think her mom started ordering the tea, and so every so often she tosses me a couple samples, and they're delicious. So that's what I'm drinking today in my mug, even though it is not fall. So let's talk about the finishes for this week, because I have 3 and I am super happy with them. In no particular order, because you've seen all of these. The first thing that I finished is my Estian. This is or Estian, I don't know how to pronounce it. This is a pattern by Stephen West. It is one of his patterns from several years ago, and you can use, I used a combination of yarns, none of which were technically called for. It calls for 3 skeins of a worsted weight yarn, so approximately 600 yards. I used Kelburn woolens in the colorway Rhododendron. I used Kelburn woolens Germantown, and this is the color. Technically, this is listed as an Aran weight on Ravelry. It sells for $14, and it is 100% North American wool, 220 yards to 100 grams. I will tell you that while it is definitely thicker than Cascade 220, I really like it, and I may use it as a substitute for Cascade 220 in the future, at least when I don't need superwash. So this was skein 1. Skein 2 is left over from when I knit my Humulus pullover. It is Brown Sheep Prairie Spun DK in the colorway Rain Cloud. So that is the second skein. And the third colorway was a skein of Studio DK from the Neighborhood Fiber Company in the colorway Oliver that I picked up at my local yarn store, and it is a deep luscious gold. And I think these three are perfect for fall together. And I finished the shawl, and it actually, I thought it was going to take longer to dry, but it dried in no time and it blocked out beautifully, and it is large and it will keep me super warm this fall. So the pattern makes use of, it's a garter half circle, so it's got some like Elizabeth Zimmerman shaping, and then it goes into some garter stitch bands and some lace bands, and the garter stitch and lace the lace ends up making the garter stitch look wavy and ruffled, and it's got some fun holes in it. And it was really funny because I had this blocking in the guest bedroom, and my husband said, "Wow, that's dramatic," and I said, yes it is. And he said, "Is that your design?" And I said, "Oh heck no." So that is my Esgin. It is done. It is 3 skeins of worsted weight, but it came out to really sizable. I'm used to thinking of fingering weight yarn and 600 yards, but this just is comfy and cozy. I will say the brown sheep is woolen spun, so it is light and airy and a little bit rustic. The Kelburn woolens softened up quite a bit with its bath, but it is definitely worsted, as is the Studio DK. But this is just a really nice piece, and I am going to love wrapping myself in this for the fall. And I do love all these crazy holes and fun stuff. It's not normally my jam, but I am going to love this for the fall, and I love that it's fall colors. And now it's really warm in here, so I'm gonna have to take it off. But this is my Esgin, and the other nice thing about this is this was 3 skeins, mostly out of stash. I just have some leftovers, which I'll use to do something with. I might actually have enough of all 3 colors to potentially do a matching hat. And I hadn't really figured out how I would make that work, but I might do that and make it a set, or maybe I could make myself some mitts. That would be kind of nice. I might do that instead, make myself some mitts with these 3 colors, the last little bits that are left. So that is the first thing that I finished. The second thing that I finished was a hat that I cast on several weeks ago for Miss Roxy. This is the Pearl Soho Classic Cuffed Beanie, although I did not do it with a cuff. I have knit this quite a few times. It is a great kind of unisex free pattern hat to use, and I knit it in fingering weight doubled. This is Black Trillium Fiber Arts, their Pebble Sock, which is a nice tight twist sock yarn, and it is called, the colorway is called Not In My Name, and it was dyed to benefit, I believe, immigrant causes, and I picked up a skein because I loved the colors, and I knit it up, and I just love how it knit up. It's blowing out the camera a little bit as far as I can see, but I just love how it knit up, and I knit it up into a sweet hat with a big pom-pom for Roxy. I did not do the doubled band at the bottom. The hat calls for the band to be doubled at the bottom so you can fold it up. I just did a single band in about half the length. I figure she can still fold it up if she likes to, because of course, ooh, I found an end that I didn't weave in. I'll need to I'll need to take care of that. But this is what it would look like all folded up. Anyway, it's just a quick hat for her. I wanted her to have another fall winter hat, and I thought these colors would be really nice for her. Blue with pops of turquoise and purple and pink. So that is finished for her. And that was a good roundy project. I did that kind of in the car and various places. The final thing that I finished this week, and not without a few mishaps, is Roxy's sweater. So this sweater is called the Arctic Coast, and it is a pattern by Gabrielle, and I don't know how to pronounce the last name or if it's a pseudonym. It's Dansknit. D-A-N-S-K-K-N-I-T, which is also why I don't know that it's necessarily her last name, but that is who it's by. It is not a free pattern, but I purchased it on Ravelry. I think it was about $5 or $6 Canadian, and I'm going to use it for both the kids' sweaters. It is a sweet striped cardigan that is written for DK weight, and it is it comes in a range of sizes from about 6 months to about 10 years. So like I said, it was nice. I can use it for both kids. And I have not put the buttons on yet, but Roxy's cardigan is finished. And so this is Roxy's cardigan. The mishap that I had with it is that I went ahead and soaked it in the sink. And then I threw it in the dryer. It is a superwash, sorry, I knit it in, and I don't think I have the label with me, Valley Yarns Superwash DK, which is Webb's house yarn. It is 100% superwash merino. I chose that yarn because it said it could be washed and dried in the machine, and I know that's what my sister will do with it. I know the kids will spill things on it. I knit their knits to be easily washed and dried. So I stuck it in the dryer because, of course, superwash grows in the sink, and so it had grown huge. And I stuck it in the dryer to shrink it back up to a good size. And what I forgot was that there was a piece of Velcro in the dryer. It's my fault because I had put the piece of Velcro was on part of my husband's Halloween costume, and I had put it in the wash with the load of towels so that I could wash it up so that it would be ready for him. And I forgot when I stuck Roxy's sweater in the dryer, because it didn't go in the washer. I actually hand washed it in the sink and then I just stuck it in the dryer. I forgot that the Velcro was in there. And so late last night I had to reknit a part of this sleeve. You can see where I reknit because you can kind of see the difference in the yarn. It's a little bit fuzzier and more stretched out up here and not down here. I'll have to wash that again. I had to reknit that part of the sleeve, and then the other piece that you won't really be able to tell because it's not such a difference, but I basically had to pull out and redo the bind off at the bottom because it stuck to the bottom hem and kind of destroyed it. So that was not my smartest move. I would suggest in the future that if you are knitting things and throwing them in the dryer, you make sure there's no Velcro in there. That is a top tip from someone who screwed it up. I do have some of those cute tree cookie buttons, which are the little, they look like rounds cut from a tree stump. And I need to put those on this evening. I just didn't have a chance yesterday evening because I was busy fixing the mess that I made. But it's super cute. It's just kind of a plain sweater, and I hope that she will like it. Her requests this year were for pink and blue stripes. She actually wanted light blue, but I didn't like the way the pink and the light blue looked together. I liked the navy much better. So she's getting a pink and blue cardigan with really cool buttons. So that actually finishes off what's generally on the needles for me this week, because that's 3 projects that I had been working on right now. So I am going to cast on for some new things this week. And so I brought some yarn to show you. The first thing that I'm going to cast on for is going to be Miles' sweater. Miles' sweater is basically going to be the same as Roxy's, although it is going to be in these 2 colors. So this is the blue that I was going to use for Roxy, but I had also bought enough to use for Miles. So this is in the colorway I believe is called Boy Blue. Not my naming it. And this one is called Steel Gray. So this is going to be the main color with the ribbing and the bands, and then the blue will be kind of the light pinstripes in the sweater. So I'm excited about that. I have about a week to work on this because I have a bunch of samples in October. So this is going to be my main focus for the week, and I'm hoping I can crank it out. I knit for Roxy, I knit the size 5/6. I was going to knit the size 3/4 for Miles because he is going to be 3. But my sister told me that he is a really tiny peanut and he is still wearing his 2-year-old sizes. So I think what I'm going to do is the cast on for the size 2 and the size 3/4 is actually the same. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast on the same number, and then I'm going to increase to somewhere between the size 2 and the size 3/4, because even though they start at a similar number, they don't end at a similar number. It's just the neck measurement is somewhat similar. So I think what I'm going to do is do the size 2, and then I'm just going to maybe do 1 extra set of increases, or maybe 2 extra sets of increases, and then maybe I will add like maybe an inch to the sleeves so that he can wear it through this season. So I do not have as much knitting to do as I thought, because like I said, I thought I was knitting a size larger than I am. So that's what I'm going to work on this week. The other thing I'm going to do is I bought enough of this color to do both kids' sweaters, and so I have this left over from Roxy's sweater, and so I am going to start a hat and mittens for Roxy in this blue, because she did say one of her favorite colors is light blue, so I'm going to go ahead and use it for a hat and mitten set because I have a couple extra balls. So those are my plans for this week. Miles' sweater, and maybe get started on Roxy's hat and mittens. And then the other thing I decided, and I did not bring it, and it's been a while, and so I wouldn't blame you if you completely did not really remember it. I'll bring it next week. I decided that the next thing that I'm going to pull out of stash as my sort of carrot, I talked last week about how the S-Gen was kind of my carrot for finishing things. I am going to bring out my boxy from stash. I started a boxy in January of this year. It was one of my Make 9. And I am using it is 100% superwash merino singles from Woolly Wonka Fibers, and it is in, I believe, the mulberry colorway, and it is just a beautiful, kind of a cross between a purple and a pink, and it is just gorgeous. And I took the project with me to London and cast it on, and of course boxy is a lot of stockinette in the round. I am making the not the v-neck version, I'm making the scoop neck version, and so I translated it, instead of 2 pieces, I translated it into 1 piece, and I'm knitting it in the round. The other modification that I made was I originally cast on as many stitches as it called for in my size, and that was going to be crazy big. The box calls for something like 30 inches of positive ease, and I really was not liking it at all. So what I did is I took out an oversized sweater that I knit previously, which ends up having between about 10 and 14 inches of I think it was around 14 inches of positive ease. And so I took the measurements for that and then cast on for a boxy in that size. So I am 1 or 2 skeins into the project. I think I'm alternating skeins. It may have just started the second set of skeins. I may be just about to start the second set of skeins. I cannot remember. And so I am going to pull that out of stash and work on that. I would love to finish I would love to finish my boxy this year so that I can wear it, and it would be great as a fall wear. Now, as I said, I do have 2 samples that I need to be working on in October, one of which I can show you, one of which I cannot. So I am giving myself until September 30th to plug away on Miles' sweater, Roxy's hat and mittens, and my boxy, and then I'm going to need to start on the next knits that need to be done in October. So those are my plans, and like I said, my boxy is going to be the carrot to my getting through the things that I need to get through. Which is not to say I don't enjoy all of the knits that I'm doing, but it's kind of fun to have a knit for myself waiting in the wings that I can sneak a few rows into when I hit certain milestones in projects. Which also brings me to the fact that I am absolutely not a monogamous knitter. Up until this year, I was pretty good about not having lots of whips waiting in the wings. I was pretty good about working on, even though I work on 2 or 3 things at a time, I work on them all until they're done, and then I cast on a bunch more things. This year I sort of slipped because I have a couple sweaters that have, the boxy was just from this year. I also have another sweater that I started, I believe, last fall. So I want to get into some of those bags and finish some of those things. I also have a couple more things on my Make 9 I'd like to knit, and I am running out of year because I have lots of samples. I have a sweater for Nanny Swaymo. I have a bunch of the kids stuff. So it's going to be a productive fall by hook or by crook. So I will have lots to show you in the next several weeks, I hope. So quick sip of tea, and then we'll go on to the spins, and then we'll be done for today. So last week I finished a skein and showed it to you, and I told you that I had already started on my next spin. My spin is Hello Yarn, and it is in Corriedale, and the colorway is Snappish, which was greens and purples. And I finished the singles. In fact, I finished the singles last night. It's greens and purples and browns and then some light blue. And that is what I have. And I actually did a pretty good job spinning this. I think it is nice and even and fairly thin. And I am hoping to get enough to make it sock weight yarn. I also spun it in such a manner that I think if you divide it roughly in half, you will have roughly matching socks. Now, I'm not going to say they will be exactly matching, but the way I lined up the colors, I think they will be slightly better than Fraternal. So, and this one is probably destined for my shop, or it occurred to me maybe I would use this as the giveaway for episode 250 and include a project bag. So I haven't decided entirely yet, but that is what I'm going to work on. Actually, when I finish this podcast, I think I'm going to wind it off and work on that this afternoon and this evening, along with casting on Miles' sweater. So that's my current spin, which means as of tomorrow, I will need a new spin. I went ahead and pulled something out of Deep Stash, and I shouldn't say that this is Deep Stash. I know it's at least a few years old, but I don't remember exactly how old it is. Actually, it's probably more than that. So I have been going through my stash and trying to pull things out that I was saving. This particular one I was saving because the dyeing company is no longer in business. This is from Crown Mountain Farms, and they used to do bumps of 8 ounces of fiber in beautiful colorways. They also used to sell some of their hand spun. It was called Crown Mountain Farms Sock Hop, and it was hand spun sock yarn. And they did some beautiful things, and this was one of the colorways that I thought was their most beautiful. This is called Stonehenge. And so this is 8 ounces of, basically, it's not quite pin drafted roving because it is a little bit thicker, but it is 8 ounces of thin roving, and it is hand-dyed Falkland top. So this will probably take me more than a week to spin. I'm thinking about spinning it straight through because it looks like the colors variegate and change fairly often. And I feel like because this is kind of a thin, let me see if I can find this piece to, well, this is tied in here, so I don't know if I can. But like you can see here, there's just a little bit sticking out. That's about the thickness of it. And so I feel like trying to pull it apart in half and with all of this will just make a mess. So I suspect I'm just going to spin it straight through. I do have jumbo bobbins on my Hanson mini spinner, so I should be able to get all 8 ounces onto a bobbin and then ply it all into one skein. And I haven't decided if I'm going to hoard this for my own uses or put it up in the shop. We'll have to see how I feel when it is done. But again, this is something that I have sort of been hoarding, not so much because I didn't feel that I could spin it. I do have a couple skeins that, based on what I wanted to do with them, I was sort of holding them until I felt like I was a real spinner. This one is just, I can never get more, which I guess technically is true, but you know how that sounds to a knitter. If you can never get more, you have to hoard it and buy an heir and a spare. So this is just something that I picked up at their closing sale, which was already several years ago. It could be 5 years ago. It's been a while. But they just dyed lovely stuff, and so I decided this week I'm going to delve into this and remember my visit to Stonehenge. So that is what I've got for you today. I hope it was enjoyable. I'm so excited to have a bunch of things done this week. I now need to go take pictures of everything and update my Ravelry page, and then grab a few new things to cast on with. So I hope you're enjoying fall and you're crafting. I would love to see what you are up to if you want to let me know. And I'm looking forward to episode 250, and I still need to figure out exactly what I'm going to do for a giveaway. But like I said, I have some things in mind, so stay tuned because that is coming up in just a couple more episodes. So I will say to you, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!